Return the $40,000 your son took or stay out, Dad said, holding the door. My sister added, my daughter saw him near the safe. We all agreed. I smiled, dropped the bank records and her car lease on the table. 5 minutes later, her husband walked out, and she. My name is Kevin Hartley. I'm 34, a pathologist in the county morgue. The person who shows up when the questions get quiet and the facts have to speak. In my family, I'm the background guy. I fix things. I hold doors. I say it's fine when it isn't. If we were a photo, my sister Alyssa would be in perfect focus, smiling, and I'd be the blur behind her carrying the coats. I have a 13-year-old son, Eli. He's quiet like me. He likes chess and old computer parts. His hair never fully obeys. On school mornings, we split a stale muffin in the car, and he reminds me to breathe when my phone starts lighting up. Divorce gave me 50-50 custody and a permanent list of things I'm supposed to remember: forms, sneakers, lunch cards, days. Work is clinical and specific. In the morgue, I label, measure, record. Everything has a chain of custody. I like that. You can prove where something came from, who touched it, what happened next. There are no golden children in there. Just cause and effect. At home, facts slide. Alyssa shines. She's 2 years older, a marketing manager with shiny teeth, shiny SUV, shiny opinions. When we were kids, Mom framed her spelling bee ribbons and pushed my science fair medals into a drawer with batteries and old cords. That drawer still exists. Dad calls it the junk drawer. I learned to laugh when he said it. Like I agreed the things I worked for were miscellaneous. I'm not bitter. At least that's what I told myself. I worked nights, paid down debts that weren't mine, took my turn, then took the turns my sister skipped. She called me Kevy when she wanted something, like I was 6 and she was being cute. It always worked. Sunday dinners stayed a thing even after my marriage didn't. Mom did roast with carrots. Dad played referee with a beer. Alyssa showed up late and loud. I arrived with paper towels, salad, and the knowledge I would leave with someone's list. That Sunday, the air felt stiff as I walked up their driveway with Eli. The oak tree threw long shadows over the minivan. My stomach nodded for reasons I couldn't name. Eli nudged me. You okay? Yeah, I lied. Let's just smile. We stepped inside. Mom barely looked up. Alyssa stood in the kitchen, arms crossed, lips pressed, posture dialed to courtroom. Her husband, Brad, hovered like a personal bailiff. Their daughter Kendall, 9, swung her legs at the bar stool, watching all of us like TV. Dad didn't sit. He stood in the doorway to the living room, one hand on the frame like a bouncer. Return the $40,000 your son took or stay out, he said, holding the door. Eli sucked in a breath. I blinked. It didn't compute. I heard the words like a radio from another room. Alyssa added, my daughter saw him near the safe. We all agreed. I looked at Eli. He went pale. In my head, I grabbed for a clipboard and couldn't find one. No chain of custody, just an accusation thrown like a brick. Dad, I said slowly, what's safe? Mom wiped a clean spot on an already clean counter. Don't make this harder, Kevin. Kendall swung her legs faster. She didn't meet my eyes. Brad sniffed, like he smelled something burning. Eli whispered, I didn't. Not here. I told him, my voice shaking. We stood in the doorway, half in, half out, like a test. The house smelled like roast and lemon cleaner and something cheap. Fear, maybe, or the sick sweetness of someone's lie. Say you'll bring it back, Alyssa said, bright and firm, like closing a sale. Then we can eat. I didn't answer. 1,000 small memories started rising in my throat, heavy as sand. From the living room, Aunt Marie's voice drifted out. He always was a strange one. The first trigger wasn't the dollar amount. It was that line, flat, casual, like I'd been a problem for years and everyone had just been waiting to say it out loud. The safe wasn't new. Dad kept one in the bedroom closet behind the flannels, a black box with a keypad and a key for just in case. It held passports, bonds, the title to the house, Mom's ring when she used too much lotion and claimed it might slip off, and cash. Always cash. Banks fail, Dad said. Cash doesn't. He loved telling the story of the time his bank put a hold on his paycheck. 14 days, he'd say, like the number had personally insulted him. Never again. So he kept envelopes in the safe. He wrote dates on them. He showed Alyssa the inside like it was a museum. He never showed me. I learned to stand in the hall and not look like I was looking. Over the years, money left the safe quietly for Alyssa's emergencies. The daycare messed up. Brad's job is in transition. The SUV tires were a surprise. Mom would say it was temporary, then lay out dessert. Dad would grumble so he wouldn't look soft. I'd drive home with leftovers and wonder how to cover my own rent. I picked up extra shifts. I said no to vacations. I said yes to, I'll pay you back Friday, even when I knew Friday was a fairy tale. My ex called me predictable and safe, which sounded like a complaint. She left with a man who called himself a fixer. He fixed nothing. I fixed the custody schedule and Eli's trust in adults. Alyssa liked to call me frugal and laugh, like I was a sitcom character who kept receipts in a jar. The truth was less cute. My checking account had a permanent bruise. I had one suit for court, 2 shirts for work, and a system of rods in my closet like a lab, blue, gray, black. It wasn't an aesthetic, it was triage. The humiliations were small and constant. Kev, can you Venmo me $60? Kev, can you pick up Kendall? We're swamped. Kev, can you talk to Dad? He's being stubborn about the roof. I said yes. Every yes made the next yes easier to demand. When Eli was 10, he asked why we didn't have a fun fund like Kendall's family. I told him the truth. We were building slowly. I could feel my face heat with the shame of being honest. He patted my arm. Okay, he said. We can still make pancakes. I watched my sister buy a new car with a bow on it. I watched Dad slip her an envelope and say, "Don't tell your mother." I watched Brad drink craft beer and explain startups and use words like burn rate while he burned through other people's patience. He called me Doc, but he said it like a joke, like I was a guy with a hobby. Kev, you're so lucky, Alyssa said once. You don't have to care what you wear. It sounded like a compliment, but felt like a gentle kind of erasure. When Kendall turned 9, Alyssa threw a party with a rented unicorn and a balloon arch that scraped the ceiling. Eli and I stood by the cooler. Could we get pizza after? He asked. I checked my account and did the math. We could. We would. I put my hands on his shoulders and felt the bones. He was growing. Growth costs money. Growth is relentless. 2 months before the Sunday dinner, Alyssa called me crying. We're drowning, she said. Brad's equity won't vest until Q4. We made a bridge loan from Dad's safe, and he's being a jerk about it. I pressed the phone between shoulder and cheek while I scraped a tray in the morgue. There are calls you can't pause. Can you talk to him? You're good with him. I'm good at not yelling, I said. That's not the same. Please, she said. Just smooth it. I'll square with you. I smoothed it. I sat with Dad on the porch and listened to him explain that this wasn't how he was raised, that his father would have thrown him out, that he wasn't raising a pack of beggars. I nodded and reminded him Alyssa was stressed. He fumed and then softened and then fished for the key to the safe like he always did. Just this once, he said, which meant not just this once. And now, on that Sunday, he stood with his hand on the door and told me to return $40,000 my son allegedly took. The accusation landed like a slap because it made no sense in our world. My son didn't go into their room without permission. He didn't touch things that weren't his. He said, "Sir," to Dad, even when Dad was wrong. They picked him because he was defenseless, because he was mine, because if I was the blur, then my kid was the ghost behind the blur. Easier to blame than stop the bleeding. Where did you get 40 grand? I asked, calm, because calm was the only card I ever held. Don't play dumb, Alyssa snapped. Dad counted it last week. Today it's gone. Who has the key? I said. We all do, she said, and then she realized what she'd said and backpedaled. Dad keeps it, but we know where it is. That's not the point. Did you call the police? I asked. Mom made a face like I'd farted in church. This is family, right? Family means no police, no paperwork, no chain of custody, just consensus. Family means we all agreed, counts as evidence. Family means Kendall's. I saw Eli near the closet, trumped Eli's, I didn't do it. Because Kendall is a certified witness and Eli is the boy who fixes old laptop chargers and keeps to himself. I looked at Eli. His mouth trembled. He didn't cry. He just looked wounded in a way that would scab over wrong if I let it. Something in me started to harden. It wasn't anger, not exactly. It was resolve. I've seen bones callous around breaks. It felt like that. Okay, I said. We're leaving. Dad's jaw ticked. You come back with the money. Alyssa smiled like she'd won. This doesn't have to be dramatic, Kev. As I turned, Aunt Marie's voice followed me out again, sugar-coated and sharp. He was always different. I drove Eli home in silence. At a red light, he said, chess after dinner, like normal might still be available if we just asked for it quietly. Yes, I said, but first I'm going to do something. What? I gripped the wheel. I'm going to collect the facts. The big scene wasn't a holiday. It was 2 nights later at Dad and Mom's because Alyssa texted a deadline like a debt collector. Wednesday, 7 p.m. We need resolution. She sent a group text. Kendall added a unicorn sticker because she's 9 and the world is stickers. I asked Eli if he wanted to come. He shook his head no. They don't see me, Dad, he said quietly. I'll mess up the picture. It hurt because it was true. I picked up a banker's box on the way. Inside were bank statements, printed and highlighted. I had pulled them in my kitchen with a cup of cold coffee and a hand that wouldn't stop shaking. I called my own bank, Dad's credit union, the leasing company, and customer service reps who sounded bored until I said fraud. I requested proofs, timelines, transfers. I printed Alyssa's car lease because she once sent me a photo of the contract for advice and forgot that advice leaves a trail. At 7:04 p.m. I walked in. Dad stood again like a bouncer. Mom hovered. Alyssa and Brad were on the couch, distance between them like a crack in tile. Kendall worked a tablet in the corner. Aunt Marie had brought apple pie and judgment. I set the box on the coffee table. Before we do anything, I said, we're going to do this with evidence. Alyssa rolled her eyes. Oh my God, Kevin. Sure, Dad said. He likes paperwork when it looks official. I pulled out the first folder. Here's the transaction log from the safe's bank bag. Last 3 withdrawals were July 2nd, August 19th, and September 30th. The cash counted at those times was logged by Dad and signed by. I looked at him. You signed it, Dad. I keep notes, he said defensively. I'm not a caveman. Good, I said. Because the sum total at the end of September, before the alleged theft, was $12,300. Not 40. Silence. Alyssa blinked first. Dad must have miscounted. I didn't, he snapped. I laid down the second folder. Car lease for a 2024 RX 350, I said. Signed by Alyssa and Brad in June. Monthly payment $912. Down payment $12,000. Paid in cash. You sent me this for advice. You texted, is this a good idea? I replied, it's not my business. That was my mistake. Brad bristled. What does this have to do with your money timeline? I said. Because on July 2nd, Alyssa withdrew. I slid a copy of the note Dad made. $10,000 from the safe. I held up the July statement from Dad's credit union showing a cash deposit of the same amount into Alyssa's account. Then on August 19th, $5,000. Then on September 30th, $3,000. I set down 3 printed screenshots of Alyssa's Venmo to the dealership, with cringe captions like, car stuff, LOL. Mom's mouth opened, closed. She looked small. Alyssa stood up. This is ridiculous. Brad stood too. We're done, he said suddenly, voice clipped. He grabbed his keys. I told you not to drag me into your family's weird cash obsession. He looked at me like I'd built this. You people are insane. He walked out, the door thudding behind him. Kendall flinched. The tablet screen timed out. Alyssa's hands shook. Wait, she said weakly. Brad. She took a step toward the door and then stopped, trapped by the room. I breathed. My heart didn't race. It felt like it slowed, like the body does when it's ready to do surgery. I reached for the last folder. There's also the security camera. Dad frowned. We don't have a camera. You do, I said calmly. Remember when the neighbor's kid was sneaking into your garage for the bike pump? You installed a motion cam in the hallway by your bedroom door. You forgot about it because the notifications annoyed you. But the app didn't forget. I turned my phone around. A still frame. Alyssa, on September 30th, at 2:18 p.m., stepping out of the bedroom, envelope in hand. Time stamped. The angle was unflattering. Truth often is. Alyssa's chin trembled. That was for Mom's ring cleaning. The envelope was labeled emergency, I said. You took it. You texted me that night. I pulled a final printout. Can you spot me $200 for Kendall's art camp? We're tight this month. Dad sank down. The beer in his hand looked heavy. So no, I said, voice low. Eli didn't take $40,000. There wasn't $40,000 in there to take. You took it in chunks and didn't keep track, and when Dad counted and panicked, you pointed at my son. Aunt Marie made a small sound, like a kettle finally clicking off. Well, she said. I looked at each of them. This isn't about revenge, I said. This is about closure. You're not going to say Eli's name that way again. You're not going to make me the junk drawer for your mistakes. The next time money goes missing, you can call the police like people do when they think a crime occurred. But you won't call me, and you won't blame my kid. Alyssa whispered, I'm sorry, but it sounded like a word she'd never had to use for real. I shook my head. Not to me. To him. Mom started to cry softly. Dad stared at the camera still on my phone like it had betrayed him personally. I put the folders back in the box. We're done here, I said. If you want to speak to me again, you can start with an apology to Eli and a written agreement about that safe. Chain of custody. Key control. Signatures. If that sounds cold, remember who made it necessary. No one stopped me. No one called after me. The only voice that followed was Alyssa's, small and breaking. Brad? She called to the hallway. But the house held its breath and did not answer. They tried to rewind it the next day. People always try to rewind after someone hit stop. At 8:12 a.m., Mom called. I let it ring out. At 8:14, she texted, breakfast. At 8:20, you're being dramatic. At 9:03, Alyssa is fragile. At 9:50, a photo of the roast leftovers. The messages stacked like coupons I wouldn't use. Dad waited till evening. Come over. We'll sort it out. Don't be stupid. I sat at our kitchen table with Eli and a list of things to buy. Milk, detergent, a birthday card for a classmate named Liam. Eli tapped a pawn against the board. Do you think they'll say sorry? He asked. I don't know, I said. But we're going to stop standing in doorways waiting for permission. He moved his pawn. Check, he said, shy smile peeking. We built routines that didn't have them at the center. It felt both wrong and clean, like finally rearranging a kitchen drawer and throwing out the bent forks. I changed our grocery day. We ate breakfast at the diner on Wednesdays because it used to be Sunday with my parents, and we needed a new anchor. The waitress learned Eli's order: scrambled eggs, sourdough, hot chocolate. She called him Professor because of his glasses. He glowed. At work, I was steadier than usual. I stopped checking my phone between cases. I stopped answering calls I didn't want to answer. My coworkers noticed I wasn't the guy who will cover a shift no questions. It felt like heresy. It felt like oxygen. Alyssa's texts toggled between apology and attack, the way a person toggles between hot and cold water when they don't know the mix. I was stressed. You blindsided me. Family shouldn't air dirty laundry. You humiliated me. Are you happy? Can we just reset? We're not perfect. Then, a photo of Kindle with a crooked project and the caption, "She misses you." I stared at the gluey paper tree and felt the old tug. Kindle didn't do this. Adults did. I typed and deleted. I tried again. When you apologize to Eli, we can talk. No reply. Brad was quiet, which was loud in its own way. Through a neighbor we learned he went to stay with a friend. Alyssa posted filtered stories about private growth, and not all journeys are meant to be understood. The SUV made it into 3 of the posts, gleaming like a trophy with captions about grit. I scrolled, then set my phone face down and washed the dishes by hand because the rhythm calmed me. Dad sent one last blast. You went too far. Your sister's marriage is none of your business. I stared at the screen. I pictured the door frame and his hand on it, gatekeeping dignity. I was tired. Eli's name is my business. I typed. Your safe is your business. Keep it that way. A week passed. 2. The calls thinned. When Mom texted, it was practical. Aunt Jean's birthday is Saturday. Like we could pretend nothing split. We didn't go. Eli and I played chess on the porch and listened to the neighbor mow his lawn. The sun slid across our building like it always did, whether we were in or out of anybody's favor. Then the knock. Saturday, 4 p.m. I opened the door to Alyssa on my mat. Hair messy, eyes rimmed red. No glitter. No script. She held a grocery bag like a shield. Hi, she said. Can I come in? Eli looked at me from the couch. I nodded and he slipped to his room, closing the door with soft loyalty. Alyssa stood in my kitchen, clutching the bag. I brought muffins, she said, like she'd stolen the idea of kindness from a movie. I waited. Silence sat with us. She crumpled first. I messed up, she said, voice breaking. I panicked about the money and I used Kindle and I blamed Eli because I knew you'd fix it and I hate myself. Brad, she swallowed. Brad left. He says I make everything someone else's fault. He says I never learned to carry my own weight. He says I'm cruel. I thought he was being dramatic. Now I think he might be right. I let it sit. I didn't hug her. I held the moment steady like a tech holds a light. I need you to apologize to Eli, I said. Specific. No if. No but. She nodded, quick. I will. I already told Kindle we were wrong. She cried. I told her grown-ups get it wrong big sometimes. She asked if we're bad people. I didn't know what to say. You say we did a bad thing, I said. And then you show her how you fix it. Alyssa wiped her eyes. Dad won't talk to me. He says I embarrassed him. That's not my part, I said. You and Dad have your own drawer to open. She managed a wet laugh. You and your drawers. They're useful, I said softly. We called Eli out. Alyssa turned to him, hands shaking, and did the thing I asked. No ifs, no buts. I'm sorry, Eli. I lied about you. I knew it wasn't true, and I said it anyway because it made my life easier for a minute. That was wrong. I will never do that again. Eli looked at her for a long time. He's 13 and carries a scale in his chest that weighs what people say. He nodded once. Okay, he said. It wasn't forgiveness exactly. It was a receipt. After Alyssa left, the messages from Dad changed tone. Shorter. Your sister came crying. You made a spectacle. We don't do police. The undertone was always the same. Keep the door where I want it. I wrote back once. Boundaries aren't spectacles. They're rules. He didn't respond. On Sunday at 6 p.m., my phone lit with missed calls. Mom. Dad. Aunt Marie. Then one last text from Mom. We're eating. Your plate is here. I stared at it. My palm itched with the old reflex to jump when summoned. I set the phone down. Eli and I went to the diner. The waitress brought hot chocolate and winked at his chess set. On the TV above the counter, a game played to a loud room. People cheered for people who couldn't hear them. Eli said, "You ever think about how many people shout at a screen expecting it to help?" I laughed into my coffee, and it felt like a full breath. The next week, Dad called to say he'd installed a new safe, different code, no spare key under the flannel. Sign-in sheet, too. He grunted, like I'd forced him into paperwork jail. Good, I said. Treat it like it matters. He paused. You always think you're better than us, he said. I never did, I said quietly. I just stopped letting you be worse to me. He hung up. There were losses. Family chat got quieter. Invitations stopped arriving with emojis and started arriving with formal times, as if we were neighbors. Aunt Marie posted a meme about ungrateful children. I didn't get tagged. At first the silence hurt. Then it felt like a room with a window propped open. Air moved. We built our life with small choices. Eli joined a school chess club, and I volunteered to drive 2 kids home after meets because I like hearing them talk about gambits in the back seat. We went to the thrift store and found a jacket that made him stand taller. I replaced the broken desk lamp. I got my first good night's sleep in months. Every mundane fix felt like a luxury purchase. Some nights the anger bubbled. I'd think of Dad's hand on the door, and my teeth would clench. I'd picture Kendall's small voice repeating something an adult told her to say. I'd feel the unfairness flare hot and stupid, and then I'd put it back. Not revenge. I'd tell myself in the mirror, like I was rinsing after brushing. Closure. When Alyssa texted updates, Brad is still gone, we're selling the SUV, I didn't toss confetti. I said, I hope you're okay, and I meant it in the grown-up sense. Okay as in you learn. She asked for a budget template. I sent it, and then didn't follow up. I am not a coach. I am her brother with a finite battery. The best marker of change wasn't a speech or an event. It was Tuesday night at 9:30 when I realized I hadn't thought about the safe once all day. That used to be my quiet hobby, worrying about other people's money. It was gone. I went to bed. I slept. The final scene was quiet. A Thursday in September, a month after it all broke. Mom asked to meet at the diner. No group text. She came in an old sweater, hands cupped around her mug. I miss you, she said. I miss Eli. I miss not being scared around you. Scared? I asked. Scared you'll hold up a mirror. Scared you won't make it easy. I'm not making it easy anymore, I said. I'm making it honest. She nodded. We made you the problem because you didn't yell. A tap on her cup. Your father says the sign-in sheet is dumb. He still uses it. Good. Dumb things work. He won't say sorry. I noticed. I am, she whispered. I'm sorry. Thank you. Tell Eli. Not me. Him. I will. She gave a small, pained smile. You were always different. For once it didn't cut. After she left, Eli slid into the booth. He'd been watching pancakes at the counter. Was that okay? He asked. It was. We don't need everything. Just enough. He nodded. Do we still play on Sundays? Yeah. But we'll pick our own time. I'm not riding for revenge. No victory dance. Just a line. I won't step back. No one points at my kid to make life easier. If something goes missing, use the sign-in sheet. If words are said, own them. Different kept us visible. My name is Kevin. I cut through noise for a living. Now I do it when needed at home. The moral's simple. I won't pay for lies or lower the bar for peace. This isn't revenge. It's closure. It's a door I hold open for me and my kid. If you want in, the price is simple. Tell the truth, respect the boundary, bring your receipts.
Asterisk after listening to today's story, perhaps it has raised some new questions in your mind, or maybe it has brought back some old memories. Every day on Reddit, new experiences and moments create fresh stories, and they connect all of us. Everyone has their own unique journey in life, and we all try to understand the world in our own way. These kinds of moments remind us that we are all human, sometimes happy, sometimes sad, and always learning something new. If you enjoyed this story, feel free to share it with your friends. Your thoughts and feedback are always valuable to us, as they motivate us to create even better content. Every story has its own unique angle, and our goal is to understand everyone's perspective and make our content diverse and relatable. Stories like these help us realize that life's journey is different for everyone, and by hearing other stories, we learn something new. You can also share your own stories with us. Your experiences are valuable to us as well, and if you enjoyed this video, please leave your feedback. We aim to create content that brightens your mind and gives you new ideas every time. If you've already seen this video before, your feedback is still important. With every piece of feedback, we can improve our content and bring a new perspective to our viewers. Today, what we saw was just a small part of the many stories shared on Reddit and across the world. It's a reminder of how we all try to understand life by sharing our experiences with each other. This video was only an example of how we try to connect with others through storytelling, learning about different sides of life. We hope to continue sharing such stories that help us all learn and grow together. Thank you for your time, and don't forget to keep an eye out for more stories coming soon. If you haven't already, please like and follow for more amazing content. Your support keeps us going, and we will strive to bring you more thought-provoking and heartwarming stories. Until next time, take care and stay curious. **